Hey everybody, Romi here, and it is so nice that you would join me today for my live. And I know that some people are going to be looking at this later, so I know not everybody is looking at the live. But for those who are here, thank you so much. I always get totally paranoid that no one's going to be here. So it's lovely to see that you are here. Today is the kickoff of my autumn shawl along. And this shawl is called Bright October. It's my very favorite month of the year is October, and it's always been. And I love October for the beautiful clear blue skies and the crisp weather. And it's just so gorgeous. And like I live the whole year waiting for October. So it reminds me of a poem that my mother and grandmother often um, just told me like the first verse to when I was growing up. And I've actually put that on the first page of the pattern. So this is a four-color shawl. And it's in sport weight, and it's a special yarn that was developed by Elemental Effects and Sincere Sheep, and they call it Coastal. And it's a sport weight. It's got some tooth to it, and it's also got some nice memory too. So it's it's a blend of linen, silk, and merino, and it's really nice. Usually, when you work with linen and silk, it can be a little hard on your fingers, but this is just gorgeous. So, it's soft and it keeps a beautiful block and it's drapey, and you can kind of see behind me here. It just has a really nice hand to it. So even if you're not using it for this particular knit along, hopefully someday you will actually try it. It does keep a really beautiful block. So, and unlike a lot of just plain silk and linen yarns, it's really nice for mosaic as well. Mosaic is this technique for the patterning, and you're just going to be using one yarn at a time. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So let's talk a little bit about how the shawl is constructed. And I'm going to try to be watching for chat, but I want you to know that it's a little bit delayed. So I'm talking to you, and it's like a little bit delayed before it gets to you, and then a little delay for the chat. So I am going to take a little. It's so nice to see everybody. Thanks for writing and saying hello. Um, so anyway, delayed before it gets to you. So here is my shawl here. I'm not going to take it all the way down. So this starts up at the top here, and I have something against those shawls that have like a sort of a big spine down the middle here. So I like to have a whole nice kind of more solid section up top. You can see on this that, well, I guess I am going to take it down, and everything's falling down on me now. So anyway, so you can see up top here, like there's not really any spine up there until you get later on to the color work. And what I've done here is I cast on across the top part, and then there are short rows that help shape it into a triangle. And I didn't want to have everybody have to pick up stitches all the way around. So that's why I use the short rows. And then it continues down. You can see there is a little bit of a spine now because I think it looks nice with the design. So once you have that top part done and the stitches and you're knitting down, then you get into the mosaic work and a little bit about choosing colors. So I chose the first color was one that I like to wear near my face. So I have kind of like an olive complexion. So yellow works for me. I know it doesn't work for a lot of people. So do what you feel is best for you. Um, I chose my color two, and my color two is this one is sweet tea. So this is from the Elemental Effects set. And I chose it because it pops against all the other colors. So that's how you want to choose your second color. Your second color needs to be something that's going to pop against all the other colors that you have. So, and as I was working down, I like the natural in that lace section there. And and then you can see at the bottom here, I really like that beautiful mango color to sort of finish out the border section. So let me just put this back up here, kind of flop it around there. Okay, so let's see how everybody's doing here. Just kind of checking to make sure that I'm not missing anybody and make sure that I can't hear myself talking on the YouTube because it's just too weird. Um, and I see Mel is here. Hi, Mel, you're lurking. Hi, Gina. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, everybody. Oh, this is nice to see you. Anyway, I'm going to share my hands with you now, and I just want to go over the pattern a little bit. So here we go. And I've tried to adjust my captioning so that it doesn't have any weird words put in there for knit. The last time I did this, there were some very bizarre words in there for knit. So I spent like half an hour yesterday um, putting in word substitutions for everything I could think of that it would substitute for knit. So hopefully it worked. Okay, so you can see here, obviously, you know that that this is the YouTube live, so no problem. Um, right here, so this is fairly short. I wanted to be able to go over the mosaic part with you next time and kind of go over it before people start on it because I have some good tips for ways to keep it loose. So this one is just the open work top. And it's a little bit different because it has the short rows. So you're going to be casting on the 132 stitches, and I will show you the knitted cast on. And then we're going to be using German short rows, which I will also show you. So this little first part here sets you up for chart A and B. So you can see that you turn here 2 stitches before the end. So let's go over here. You can see there are all the chart symbols here. One thing about my patterns is that they are what you see is what you knit. So in other words, a knit symbol here is always going to be a knit symbol on the chart. It does not change on the wrong side here. Those will always be purls. So pearls. So I also went through and adjusted word substitution for pearl. And so yesterday, when I was doing that, of course, it wasn't saying curl. It was saying, you know, it was Pearl. So I guess I have to go back there. Okay. So you can see here, I have a color code for C1, C2, C3, and C4. Um, this whole section, the charts A and B, those are all in color 1. Okay, and then we have my printer is dying a little bit, so this is probably a lot darker than it looks for you. Okay, so you can see across here, it's cast on, and then after all the stitches are picked up around, we're just going to work out again. Okay, and here we are. Um, this method makes the charts look a little strange, I think, because we're all used to seeing charts sort of smaller at the bottom and then go larger and larger. And in this particular one, it's starting out at the bottom wide, and then it's narrow. So up here, I know it says to cast on 132 stitches, but I am only going to cast on 48 because that's how many I need to work that chart one time. Um, so I just want to be able to show get kind of further along. So the first thing I'm going to do is just make a slip knot. Likely you don't need to see that, but I'll do it anyway. And then I like to use the knitted cast on. So I knit continental style. And basically all you do for that knitted cast on is you're going to knit a stitch and then twist it. So you want to twist it and put it on the needle because that's what's going to mount your stitch correctly with the right leg in front and the left leg in back. And it's pretty fast to move along. Once you have the hang of it, you can just keep your needle in the stitch. You don't ever have to take it out. I really love this cast on. Um, it's it's stretchy, but not too stretchy. Gives you a nice edge for lace. It blocks out really well without being too loose along the edge. So you can see I'm just keeping my needle in there. And I'm going to twist my stitch, keep my needle in, make a knit stitch, twist, put it back on. So I have 8 stitches, and you may be like me, but when I am talking to people, I cannot keep count. So I usually put a marker every 10 stitches. And that way I don't get completely and totally off. So sometimes I have days that are 5-stitch days, but hopefully today is a 10-stitch day. I'm hoping. So I'm just going to do my 48 stitches, and I'm still sort of counting in between because my mind is a million miles away. Well, I guess not that far away because I counted properly so far. So I try to stay away from the long tail cast on, though I have been told that was because I wasn't doing it properly, and that if I'm going to use a long tail cast on, then I should always put a quarter of an inch between my stitches when I'm casting on. And I have actually tried that, and it does work, but I still like my knitted cast on. So 6, 8. So there's 9 and there's 10. I just think this is a really nice all-purpose cast on. Although I did learn the long tail and have many years of frustration before I just decided to use another cast on. I think it's one of those things that that everyone has somebody who teaches them how to knit and uses the long tail cast on. So for me, that was my mother, and she was a crocheter, so she wasn't very happy about teaching me to knit. She was very much into crochet, but she finally did. So let's see. So yes, Mel, Mel says markers are the only reason I can do long tail cast-ons. Yes, yes, exactly. Long cast-ons, more than 20 stitches. That is exactly how I'm feeling. I mean, there's just so much information to stick in one's brains these days. There's not enough room left for counting. 7. Okay. So here is 48. There's 48 stitches. And so we're right up here at the top here. I'm going to knit one through the back loop 2 times. And so what that means, usually when you're knitting, you're going to be sticking your needle through the front here. So when you knit through the back loop, you're going to be going around the back. So the idea here is to twist the stitch. So I'm going to twist my stitch, and you can see there's a little twist at the base of that stitch there. And I just think it looks nice and neat, just neatens everything up. The side looks better. So the first 2 stitches are twisted, and now I'm going to knit to 2 stitches before the end, and then my last 2 stitches are also going to be twisted. So as I'm going, because I really don't need to keep those markers in there, I'm just going to be taking them out. They have served their purpose and they can move on here. So, and this is just kind of creating a nice edge along the top. And once I have that edge up top, I can start on my, my first chart. And I know I have kind of a wonky way of knitting. We were actually having a knitting style discussion on Twitter this morning, and it turns out there is actually somebody else on Twitter who knits exactly the same way that I do. And so that's good. Wonky knitters unite. Okay, so I am 2 stitches from the end, and I'm just going to knit these 2 through the back loop as well. So that's nothing exciting yet. So here we have, that's rows 1 through 3 that I want to do. I'm going to skip 2 of these rows because you're just going to have to trust me that it's going to be a wider edge, because no one wants to see me just knit for 2 more extra rows. So I am going to do row 4. So I'm going to slip this first stitch purlwise. And the reason I'm doing that is so that if there's a nice clean edge up top. So when I go back and I picked up all of my, I've got all my stitches and they're all on my needle, I'm going to be picking up some stitches from the edge up here. So I wanted it to be as flat across the top as possible. So that first stitch is slipped purlwise. When you slip a stitch purlwise, you are not repositioning the stitch. So in other words, sometimes you're going to be slipping a stitch to reposition the stitch so that the right leg is in the back and the left leg is in front. This one keeps the right leg in front and the left leg in back. So that first stitch is going to be slipped, and then I'm going to purl to 2 stitches before the end, and I'm going to turn. So on the real shawl, this would have another, like a garter ridge on the front. This is just going to be stockinette, but that is not what the actual real shawl is like. There is actually garter stitch on the edge, and that is to keep it from curling as much as it would if it were just the stockinette. So here we go. I should do like, I should be knitting under a black light because my fingernails glow in the dark. But I have to get some of those lit knitting needles that have the, you know, the little lights in them. And I definitely want to make some videos of knitting with glowing knitting needles and glowing fingernails. Okay. So I am right here. I'm 2 stitches before the end. So I have stopped here and I'm just going to turn my work around. So I haven't done anything special. I've just turned it. I haven't wrapped a stitch or anything. And that is going to set me up for chart A. I'm just going to move this aside here. Okay. And then let's take a look at the chart here. I really like to use a post-it note or some other type of chart keeper to be able to keep track of my rows. So I'm going to start on the bottom here. You can see, so you can see the numbers are on both sides. Odd numbers 1 through 11 are on the right side, and then even numbers over here on the left side. I'm gonna block the sun. There we go. Because it was actually cloudy before, but the sun came out. Okay, so here we go, and hopefully I won't knock everything over again. Okay, so back down here, so you can see the numbers on both sides. Odd numbers on the right side, even numbers on the left side. So you're going to start on the bottom row and you're going to move from right to left. You're always going to start at the number. So you're going to move right to left and then left to right as you move up. And you want to cover everything as you're going up the chart. You want things to be covered up above so that you can see under here how your pattern is developing. So you're just going to keep going up the chart and watch that pattern develop as you go up. So here is my first row. I am like a huge user of markers. So here underneath the chart is the written instructions. So you can check yourself also if you need to. So this first mark right here is a German short row. So I abbreviated it as GSR. So you can see over here, German short row, knit for SSK. Okay, so here is what you do for a German short row. So you're going to want to have your yarn on the front. So I'm just starting from where I was in the transition. And the first thing I'm going to do is slip that first stitch purlwise. Okay, so now I'm going to take this working yarn here and pull it over the needle and kind of really yank down on it. So what I want to happen is for these two legs to come up. So it's getting kind of deformed there. I've pulled it all the way around the needle. So you can see on the back there how far I pull that around. So that is my first German short row, and it creates what looks like a double stitch. But when we go back and work those stitches, this is just going to be worked as though it's a single stitch. Okay, so that's where we are right now. So now I'm going to knit 4. Okay, so now I have an SSK, and I'm going to show you some different ways to do SSKs. So as we go along, I'm going to be showing you different ones all the way across. So the first type you might want to do is a slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit, and then replace them both on your left needle so you can see how that stitch is reoriented now. And then you're going to work those together. So that's technically a knit two together through the back loop. But because we've reoriented the stitches, the bottoms of the stitches are not twisted. Okay, now we have a double yarn over, and that is literally just putting your yarn over your needle 2 times. So this is basically what it does is just create a big hole. So it looks like there are 2 stitches here, but they could both come off and it's just one big hole. So I'll show you that when we come back the other way. And then I'm going to knit 2 stitches together. So then I'm right here. So I'm going to knit 2 and show you another way to do an SSK. So I'm going to slip a stitch as if to knit, knit 1 stitch, and then pass the slip stitch over. So that gives you the same type of look. So SSK is a controversial stitch, which is kind of funny, but there are lots and lots of ways to do them, and everybody will find one that works particularly well for your knitting style. So the idea is to make it look like it's exactly mirroring a knit two together. So here I am at my next SSK. So because I like to use markers, I'm going to show you right here between my 2 yarn overs how to place the marker in between the yarn overs. Okay, so here is another type of SSK. I'm going to slip a stitch as if to knit and then replace it on my left needle. So this stitch is reoriented. Here you can see the right leg is in back and the left leg is in front. And the second stitch I'm going to use is not reoriented. So this stitch here is going to be twisted. So this one lays better for me. This is the one that lays the best for me and my style. And the next one I'm going to show you is going to be kind of a shortcut to that. So I'm just going to place a marker here. So I've gotten right to this area here, and I just like to put my markers in just so I can kind of keep track all the way across. So I've put it in between those 2 yarn overs. And let's see, just checking to make sure I got everybody's chats. Okay, so now I have my knit 2 together and then I knit 2. Okay, so this is the way I do my SSKs. It's my favorite way. I go in through the front as if to knit this first stitch here, and then through the back loop of my second stitch. And then I make my stitch by pulling the yarn through both. So this one is just like the other SSK that I did, but this is just a faster way to do it. So I always like to find faster ways to do things, and it kind of helps with the flow as I'm knitting. And I'm just going to place another marker. So because I'm only doing 1 repeat here, these are going to be my only 2 markers. I just wanted to show you how that would look in between these 2 stitches. So I'm over here again at my knit two together. And then I'm just going to go to the end. So I used to be very much against using a knit two together through the back loop as an SSK, or rather as a left leaning decrease, because it doesn't really mirror a K2 together. So, however, some people this actually works better for. So now I do show everybody this possibility too. And it's just knitting two together through the back loops. So the reason I don't particularly like to use it is because both of the stitches are going to be twisted, the top and the bottom. And I like to just keep the top stitch untwisted. But however, some people really have some good results with it. So now I do actually do that. So again, here's my favorite: in through the front and then through the back of the second stitch. It's much faster. I really like the flow. Okay, so just going to check this again and make sure where I am. I've just done this knit two together. So I am going to work 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches here. I'm going to work those. And then this last little stitch here, symbol, like that little tiny open kind of oval, means to turn your work. So no stitches actually worked there. It's just your work is turned. So let's see. To make sure I actually was able to get my correct number of stitches. So important thing, each one of these rows will be stopping 2 stitches before the last turn. So this first one, you're actually stopping 2 stitches before the end. So right here, you've come to this little mark here, that little oval, and there will be 2 stitches left on your left needle, and that is absolutely correct. So now I'm going to turn this over, and you can see that first stitch there is a GSR. I'm going to move this up. Okay, so now we have the purl side for the German short row. So you're going to have your working yarn hanging down in the front. And the first thing you want to do is slip that stitch. And then you're going to do what you did before with the knitting, when you were on the knitting side. You're going to take that yarn and just pull it all the way over the top. So you really want to yank it over the top. Don't be gentle. You're going to yank it all the way around here. This is going to help to hide it. So a lot of people I know do not necessarily yank it as hard as I do, but I've found that if you really make this nice and snug, it hides better in your knitting later on. So once that's gone all the way over the top, I'm going to bring my yarn forward to purl, and I'm just going to start. So I am going to be going along here, so you can see when I come to a double yarn over on the wrong side, there's a purl stitch and then a knit stitch, and that is because you can't work 2 purls into a double yarn over. The whole thing will fall apart. So you have to work a knit and a purl. So just going to go purl along here. Okay, so you can see here, here's my double yarn over. And remember I was talking about if it comes off your needles, it's just like a big hole. So see, I can pull in and slip your marker and then do the knit stitch. And just going to do that to the end here. Okay, so let's take a look right at the chart here. I kind of use the double yarn overs as sort of landmarks on my knitting. So when I've come here, I'm going to take a look here just to sort of double check myself. So I have 3 more pearls. And then right after that is that little open oval, and I'm just going to be turning. So I'm going to do my 3 pearls. Okay, and then I see I have 2 stitches here, and then my double stitch from my German short row. So that is correct. And once I hit that little thing, I'm just going to turn my work over. So I have my working yarn is already in the front here. And I'm going to move this up again. Okay, so I'm right here with my German short row. Here we go again. I just got to pull that over the top and really yank it down. So I want to show you why I do these 2 little stitches through the back loop above my yarn overs. So let's do my first 2 knits. Okay, so I like my yarn overs to be nice and tidy. And I want to show you first what this looks like if you don't twist the stitches above the yarn over. So I'm going to do 2 stitches off as well. So what I like to do is just twist these stitches there, and I think it sets this larger yarn over off really well. So instead of having some kind of messy stitches up above there, you now have just kind of a tidier line across the top. So that is why I like to do that. So that is what it looks like. It looks a little heart-shaped, I guess. And you can just see them all the way across. I'm just going to go straight to the other end and make sure that I'm properly lined up here, that I'm doing my yarn overs in the right place. And then I'm just going to talk a little bit more about my charts. So as you're going along here, you're going to have double stitches, and then you're going to have your double stitches and then 2 stitches in between each double stitch. So I've gotten to this little area here. Then I have 3 knits, and then I'm going to turn again. So, okay, so here I can see, here is my double stitch. And then here are my 2 stitches before then. So I know I'm in the right place because the way this chart works out, you're going to have 2 stitches in between each double stitch. So I'm going to turn over and do that German short row again. And I'm going to start working back. Okay. So you can see now as you go along, this is going to start to look more triangular. So you're going to be building the material in the middle here. So it's going to reflect what your chart looks like. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for a moment. And let me just go over the charts a little bit more. And then as I'm talking about the chart a little bit more, please, if you have any questions or anything, just ask me in the chat, and I will answer them for you. Okay, so we already talked about right to left and then left to right. Okay, so and you're going to follow each up as you go. You want to be uncovering the pattern as you go so you can make sure that everything is all nice and lined up. Okay, so this is in one color here. So this is all color one, but in this chart, I've put in five, like increments of five here in different colored stripes. And that's just so that it's easier to count. So as you're looking from right to left, you're going to have 5, 10, 15, 20, and on across the chart. So that is what that is for. Okay, so and as you're going along, you'll be working your chart. Once you get to row 11, it doesn't say row 12 after that, but if you look back here to row 2 and all other even numbered wrong side rows through 12. So that means you are actually going to work a row 12 after your row 11. Then you're just going to go back, and once you have done that first time through, then you're going to be looking at the numbers in these brackets here. So whereas the first time through you had 19 repeats in this little repeat box. So in other words, you're going to come to the edge of the repeat box, then you're going to work that box, and then you're going to go back to the start of that box. You're going to work in there 19 times inside in the written instructions. So in the written instructions, I brought in these two repeats on either side as well. So that's why the numbers are different. So once you go back to the beginning of chart A, you're going to start using the second number in your brackets. So if you're working only in the chart, you're going to be working this 15 times in this area, and then you're going to be working 9 and then 3. So inside here, following written instructions, 19, 13, 7, following charted instructions, this area here, 15, 9, 3. And then the last one, of course, these 3 repeats. So once you go down here, you've worked chart B, so you will have enough stitches to keep up the scheme on either side here. So in other words, this is going to be just the same as chart A. It's going to continue. There are going to be your double stitches, and then in between each double stitch, there's going to be 2 just plain stitches. So when you finish, you can see here on row 6, you're not going to be turning the work this time. So at the end here, you're going to have your German short row, and then you're going to purl 6 across the top, and then you're not going to turn it. So next time when we catch up with each other, we're going to be doing a transition. So we're just going to start working down the side of this and working all of those double stitches. So just leave it like that, facing you, and then we'll pick up the next installment. And so let me see questions. So I have a question. The chart looks like you purl and then knit in the double yarn over, but you knit and then purled in the double yarn over. So you can do either. It doesn't matter, just as long as you have a purl and a knit in there. So I actually, when I was on the back side, I purled and then I knit into it. So then on the front side, it looks like it's reversed, but but I actually did on the wrong side, I purled and then I knitted into it. So if you take a look up here, I'm going left to right. So purl and knit. And then when I come back the other way, it looks like I just hit the knit before I hit the purl. So See if there are any other questions. Um, so it doesn't look like there are any other questions. I do want to say we have a Zoom meetup on Saturday. And there you can register by going to looking in your intro file for this knit along, and it has a link there to register. So it's 1 p.m. Pacific time on Saturday. It's probably a little bit different for you, Mel, because of that international dateline. But I would love for you all to join me. And if um, you don't have to be working on the knit along to join. We'll just sit around and you can ask questions, or we can talk about whatever. And then I'm just gonna switch back to my. Let's take this down again. At the end of this section, you will be right up at the top. So let's see if I can find that. You'll be right at the top here. So there will be 6 stitches right along here. And you're going to be on the wrong side. And then for the transition, we'll just be working the wrong side all the way down, all of the stitches along here and all of the double stitches. And then we're going to turn over and work the other side, and increase some stitches along here so that it doesn't bind. And after that, we are going to do some mosaic. So the next section is kind of a fat one. And so I may possibly, we'll see how you guys do. So let's see if a week is long enough to knit up the like chunky one next time. But the next section is these 2 charts. And so it's the yellow section, and then this first part of the white section, and then the lace is after that. So I just kind of arranged it so that we could go over the different techniques, and it would sort of like help you as you start to do the next section. So let me see. Um, Let's see. Okay. So it looks good. You guys don't seem like you have any more questions, which is good. If you have any questions or anything, and you don't know, um, didn't understand something, we are knitting along in my Ravelry group, which most of you probably know, although I know some of you aren't on Ravelry. So if you want to just kind of come and hang out this Saturday, I can answer your questions. And even if you don't have questions, you are more than welcome to join and just kind of hang out with a knit group. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I'm going to take one more look and make sure I didn't miss anybody's questions. Um, Yay. Okay. So, yay. Okay. Okay. So, Amy said that mosaic is easy for me, but the yarn overs and short rows are difficult. So, um, yeah, if you need any help or anything like that, we're definitely around to help you. So, yeah, you'll be good. Um, and then just if you're not sure, that's one of the reasons that I kind of split this up into chunks so we could go through it first. So you're good. I mean, as you go, you'll be great. Just trust me. It will become like second nature. You'll see. And then let me see. Okay. Okay. Looks like everybody is good. Yay. Okay, so everybody, I hope to see you Saturday, and I will definitely see you next week.